Over the past 3 years, the average UK household has seen its expenses jump by roughly £2,500. Energy bills, food prices, and mortgage rates have all cooled in the wrong direction, draining household budgets fast. Voters want accountability before the next general election. To get it, many are turning to a relatively new political tool, the UK MP Cost of Living Scorecard. These scorecards are incredibly popular because they compress a massive, complicated parliamentary voting record. They spit out a single, highly shareable percentage or a simple color code that claims to tell you exactly how your representative handled the crisis. Compressing years of legislation into a single grade strips away the context needed to make an informed decision. Trusting that top-level number alone can lead to praising or punishing the wrong politician for the wrong reasons. To understand why, you have to look at how these tools are made. The organization building the scorecard looks at the current parliament, selects a specific list of votes, and decides whether a yes or no vote was the correct answer for the cost of living. Then they tally up the score. This animation illustrates two completely different ways to score the exact same political record. On the left, a left-leaning think tank chooses to grade MPs strictly on welfare votes and benefit uplifts. On the right, a different organization grades them strictly on tax cuts. The selection of which bills even count dictates the final grade. Beyond selection, there is the problem of equal weighting. This chart now compares the real-world scale of those individual bills. A tool might give the exact same mathematical weight to a major £2 billion vote on fuel duty as it does to a minor procedural amendment. It treats vastly different financial impacts as equals. That is why you have to scroll down to the methodology section. If you want to understand the data, you need to check the trustees and donors funding the tool to see the worldview driving their selection process. Most scorecard ratings are political worldviews expressed through a mathematical filter. The data is also skewed by the reality of how Westminster operates. Most votes in Parliament are whipped. This means MPs are strictly instructed by their party leadership on how to vote, making rebellion incredibly rare. Let's look at this chart comparing two hypothetical neighboring MPs. Sarah has a cost of living score of 72%, and Mark has a score of 74%. On the surface, their records look nearly identical, but digging into the methodology reveals Sarah's hidden context. She served as a junior minister, meaning she was bound by collective responsibility, a strict rule requiring her to publicly support all government decisions. Once we separate out the mandatory votes she had to make to keep her job, her unwhipped, free vote record is actually highly rebellious. Mark's record tells the opposite story. He was a backbench MP without ministerial limits, yet his score is built entirely on voting exactly how his party told him to, without a single instance of independent advocacy. We also have to watch how these scorecards handle absences. An MP missing a vote because they are traveling on a select committee or are part of a formal paired voting arrangement with an opposing MP is very different from actively voting against a cost of living measure. A voting scorecard captures the mechanics of Parliament. It tracks tribal party obedience and structural limitations, but it rarely measures an MP's individual conscience. A high overall rating out of 100 does not guarantee your representative supported the specific policies that lower your monthly bills. The crisis hits every home differently. To get real value from these tools, write down your 5 largest recurring household expenses. For most people, that will be some combination of rent or mortgage, energy, food, transport, and childcare. Take that list and open up the scorecard's methodology section. Look at the parliamentary divisions they use to build the rating and cross out any votes that don't directly affect your top 5 expenses. Once you have your targeted list of votes, check the official parliamentary record, known as Hansard. Use it to see if your MP actually stood up and spoke in debates about your biggest financial pressures, or if they just voted quietly and left. By filtering the generic data directly through your own budget, you stop looking at a broad political grade and start looking at a customized metric of how your representative impacts your financial survival. Applying this personal filter turns a generic percentage into a foundation for questioning your representative directly. Reach out to your MP with your filtered list. Ask them to specifically justify why they voted the way they did on the divisions that actively increased your mapped household expenses. To begin this process, always read the full methodology breakdown at the bottom of any scorecard you use. You can also map out your real-world running costs using the hidden cost calculators available on the Cost Saver platform. A simple percentage point cannot deliver democratic accountability on its own. Numerical ratings provide the starting questions, but holding politicians responsible requires voters who are willing to demand the context behind the numbers.